Hi everybody and welcome back to Tailored Style. So on today's video I have a lovely guest, dear Francisco.
Hi, I'm happy to be here today.
Yes, and we are happy to have him. So for all those of you that don't know, Francisco works in the salon with us and me and him work in the same room together. He's been with us for like what, since it's almost a year.
Almost a year.
Almost a year.
10 months now.
Mm-hmm. We've had a whole baby in the past 10 months.
Yes.
And so today we thought it'd be fun to do a YouTube video with you guys about.
We are going to be doing top 10 questions to ask during a consultation with a new client.
We think this video is like super important and inspirational for young stylists, people that are just getting into the beauty industry, something that we see a lot of. Francisco's worked in like very high-end salons, and even in my few years, he's been doing hair a lot longer than I have. Just like seeing what people don't ask is like the biggest problems and biggest pet peeves of ours, because like if you do a good consultation, you can solve so many problems that are going to be along the way. So without any further ado, grab a Coke, grab a drink, sit with us, and we're going to dive in. Question number 1.
When was their last haircut?
I think this is super important because a lot of people lie about this, I feel like. And for no reason. Like, I just like people don't even remember when they got their haircut done. They're just like, oh, it's been like 6 months, 3 years, 12 years. I'm like, so do you regularly get your haircut or not? You know, it's like, it kind of tells you a lot about a person, I feel like, when you see how much they maintain.
Also, figuring out what was their last haircut will give you a better understanding of how comfortable they are with haircuts. A lot of the times clients avoid haircuts because they think that if they never cut their hair is going to grow super long, healthy, and shiny, when that is the complete opposite.
Total.
By avoiding haircuts, you are promoting that breakage to just kind of sit there, and as your hair gets longer, the damage gets worse. So you'll have 6 inches of growth, but 4 of those 6 inches will have to be cut if you never get a haircut.
Chopped off. Faux show. I think you said it all right there. I think it shows you so much, and like you said, I think people... I like the way you said that, the comfortability with haircuts, because a lot of times you see people that are just so terrified of haircuts.
Yeah.
Don't cut too much, please.
Yeah.
It's like, girl, calm down.
Kicking it off with question number 2 is, what is your hair care routine? Now this one's really important because a lot of the times we have to remember that hair is a dead cell. So unlike your skin, if you cut yourself, that will hurt itself. Yeah, it will hurt, but it will repair itself, unlike hair. Once hair is damaged, it is damaged. Everything that you've taken out of the hair in the chemical process, you will then in turn have to put it back with the proper hair care, aka shampoo, conditioners, leave-in conditioner, and salon treatments. Figuring out what your client's hair care routine will allow you to know what to add into the hair care regimen when prescribing a product for their hair.
So question number 3 is going to be, what is your inspiration? It's really good to have an inspiration, asking your client to have several photos of what they're wanting, so that way we are eliminating the guesswork and the process, and you can decide what you need to do and how they want it, so that way ultimately the results are achieved quicker, faster, and it's accurate.
Yes, and knowing what your client doesn't want is just as important as knowing what they do want, because you would be able to see what you need to avoid when doing their hair. Figuring out if they like layers or don't like layers, or if they want the wig taken off, etc. Knowing these things will allow you to better create the vision that your client is wanting. With question number 4, when was the last time you colored your hair? Now this is a really important one, because the color history of your client's hair is just as important as what they are wanting. We have to remember that once we are coloring on already colored hair, we are essentially trying to create a painting over an already painted canvas. So we have to figure out what they got done in the past in order to be able to better predict what we can do in the future. Knowing what they have done will let you know if you have to color extract prior to lightening the hair, or if the hair will require lightening at all.
Yeah.
So,
I think that when you ask your client that question, it's just very important to be direct and thorough with them. Like you said, it means so much, and it is so important to the coloring process, and kind of having that mindset as a stylist that some people don't really understand how what they did to their hair impacts so much what we're doing. So you can, get your hair colored and think that it was just a rinse, or it was just a dye. You have plenty of people who think that, and it's like, no, that affects so much chemically what we're doing to your hair. So it's very important that you get that across to your client. And I understand that sometimes people aren't going to tell you the truth, but you will always find out, because the hair will tell the story, for sure.
Yes, and figuring out what your client has done in the past, or just getting an idea of what they have done before, will give you a better estimate as to how long it will take to achieve their desired results.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, if somebody has been coloring their hair red for 15 years and all of a sudden want a perfect pale platinum blonde, you will have to definitely let them know that it's going to be quite a few visits before they're able to achieve the desired look. And if the desired look is even achievable at all. A lot of the times we forget that the integrity of the hair is more important than the color.
Yeah.
So sometimes we may have to put the color on the back burner in order to save the integrity of the hair. So that's just a few things to kind of keep in mind when performing a color service on a new client.
I also think like the color history of someone also shows you so much of like what they're going to do at home. How often you get your hair done matters so much on whether I suggest something that is super high maintenance or whether I suggest something that is more lower maintenance. Because at the end of the day, I think a lot of people want certain colors, but at the end, like, you're gonna go for what works for your day-to-day life, and your color history is gonna show us that.
Moving on to question number 5. How much time does your client have in the morning? Now, this is a really important question to ask because when creating a style, you have to keep in mind how long your clients have to really recreate the style that you are creating for them at the salon. A lot of the times, people have just 5 to 10 minutes to spend on their hair, and if you're giving them a look that requires at least 20 to 30 minutes to style, that's going to be a huge inconvenience to them in the morning. It can be the most beautiful style you've ever created, but if it doesn't work for the client, it's just not going to work.
For sure. I mean, that part of it is like super crucial to the process. Like you said, it's like if you don't have the time, you just don't have the time. And then ultimately, as a stylist, it is your job to think of the fact of how they represent your work is what speaks for you and your name. And if you are a new stylist watching this video, that's very crucial and very important because you could do an amazing job, but if your client doesn't have the time to make your work shine or to replicate it the way that they did, then it's not speaking for you in a positive light.
Yes. You want to make sure that you're giving your clients styles that they can recreate at home because that's your name walking around. You want people to stop your client and say, oh my God, who's doing your hair? Even when they're doing it themselves, that will say a lot about you as their stylist because you're educating them on how to recreate those salon styles.
Question number 6 is going to be, what is their lifestyle? This is a very important question as well because a lot of times, I know for me, with my African American clientele, we have this debate sometimes whether you're working out like crazy. If my clients are going to the gym 5-6 days a week and they're have a natural hair, oftentimes we are constantly fighting that moisture battle of them trying to figure out how often do I need to wash my hair? When do I need to be in for a deep condition? How can I find a style that's going to last? Because after I work out, my hair is not going to be messed up. These are important questions to ask when you're figuring out what you're going to give your client. And you won't know until you figure out their lifestyle.
Yes. Asking the right questions can definitely help you figure out what kind of styles and what kind of colors will suit their lifestyle. For instance, if somebody wants fire engine red, you have to keep in mind that that's a demi-permanent color, so it's not going to last in the hair really long. So if you have somebody who's a swimmer, that's something to really consider because the chlorine will definitely extract every color molecule out of that hair and dry it out. So considering whether your client goes to the gym or they like to do outdoor activities, will definitely let you know how to care for their hair and prescribe the proper products to be able to endure everyday wear and tear and outdoor.
And so question number 7 is going to be, how often do they heat style their hair? Personal story and experience with this, I had a client who was constantly having a lot of damage and a lot of breakage, and we got to talking. She has a very fine grade of hair texture, and she was flat ironing her hair on like 460 every day, and her hair was so fine, it was just kept breaking. We could not figure it out. And once we did it, it helped me understand what was going on so I could explain to her why her hair was reacting the way it was. Because no matter what we did, we could not get it healthy. But once I figured out her lifestyle, I was like, what are we doing? What are you doing every day? Give me your everyday routine. Do you use heat? And she was like, yeah. I'm like, well, what do you have it on? Like 4 something? I'm like, oh God, like why? Your hair is so fine. That is a very important question to ask.
And thermal damage is damage like any other damage, like chemical damage. If you're going in there and let's say you have natural curly hair and you're straightening every day, that will definitely ruin the natural curl pattern of the hair. You're thermal straightening the hair. Figuring out whether they're curling every day, whether they're flat ironing every day or blow drying every day is really important because heat affects color.
Yeah.
And in order for clients to get the best out of their colors, you need to really find out if they're styling every day. And if they are styling every day, setting them up with the products that are meant to protect against thermal damage. Okay, so just kind of figuring out exactly how much heat your client is putting on their hair can definitely reverse a lot of the damage that is being done to it.
Yeah, definitely.
So kicking it off with question number 8, we have, what is your client's beauty budget? Now, I know that the topic of money and how much a service is going to be can sometimes be a little bit uncomfortable, just asking somebody how much money do you have to spend on your hair. It's definitely not the way you want to go about it, but you definitely want to figure out what their limit is when it comes to their hair color.
Yeah.
I feel like figuring out figuring out what the client's wanting and what they have, and kind of breaking it down to them like that, and then just kind of giving them an overall total before even getting started will give the client an idea of whether or not they will want to proceed with the service.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like super difficult to like deal with people in that way, in that regard. I feel like you said, it can be a super uncomfortable conversation, but I think it's so necessary and so needed. I feel like as a stylist, it protects you when you talk money before the service even starts, because you don't want to work super hard for something that you're not going to get compensated for. And secondly, it protects the client, like he said, because a lot of times people are sitting in the chair and they're like, oh God, how much is this going to be? And then, when you start to get to a certain point where people feel uncomfortable at price points, everything becomes an addition. So everything's like, you don't have to blow dry, you don't have to cut. And you're putting yourself in that awkward tension. And really, it's hard to create in that space when you're like, oh, but then she's gonna want to pay more. Oh, the budget wasn't this much. It's very good to have that thorough conversation beforehand. And if it's awkward, I think one of the best things I've realized is just the bottom line is explaining to people. Fran said it best the other day, and I really love the way he describes it. Like, haircuts, maintenance. Trims, maintenance. Getting a wash and style, maintenance. But hair colors, you don't need platinum blonde. You don't need highlights. You don't need silver hair. You don't need rainbow colors. Those are cosmetics. And just like getting Botox, just like getting veneers, dentures, plastic surgery, that stuff costs, and it costs a lot of money. And it's the same with our profession. What we do is borderline pharmaceutical, in my opinion. We are mixing colors, we are doing strategic stuff, we're spending hours and hours, 8-9 hour hair colors. That stuff is worth a lot of money. It is worth our time, it's worth our effort, worth our energy, and just like any job, when people spend a lot of time with you, it costs. Go get AC work done.
And especially if you're a newer stylist, sometimes it can be kind of difficult figuring out how to charge your worth and how to really get there. I think it's really important, one, being realistic with the client and letting them know, like, hey, if for instance, if they're a natural level 1 and their hair is black and they wanting to be the palest of blondes, you have to let them know it's achievable, but it's going to take a toll on the integrity of your hair, and it is going to cost you X amount of money per visit. Be very straightforward about the pricing, and let them know in advance. And if they're comfortable with that, then it's okay, you'll get yourself a client. But if they're not, that's also okay, because you'll just be making room for the people that are willing to pay what you're worth. Always remembering to protect yourself, your business, but also protecting your clients is really important.
Yeah, definitely. And to newer stylists, because I know a lot of times, especially in corporate salons, I remember you feel pressure as a new stylist to whatever walks in the door, you have to do it. You know what I mean? Because you're trying to make money for the salon, you're trying to get your name out there, you're trying to build a repertoire or your portfolio. You're trying to build your portfolio of work, but don't take on more than you can chew, because it's scary. You know what I mean? Certain colors, certain things. If you don't feel confident, that has a lot to do with your price point as well. You can charge a lot. You can charge what you're worth when you're confident that you can pull off what the client is asking for. There's nothing worse than trying to charge someone for something that didn't even come out the way it's supposed to be.
So just kind of figuring out what's the most, but what your client is comfortable paying is really important. Just be realistic, be honest with your clients, and let them know if they're bringing you a picture of Jennifer Lopez, you let them know, well, Jennifer Lopez doesn't have a budget of $100.
No.
So that's something to really keep in mind, is just being open and honest about how long and how much a process will cost. Will save you a whole lot of heartache and a lot of sticker shock
Yeah.
when the client sees that total, okay?
Yeah. Question number 10 is going to be, what is their commitment to the salon? And for me personally, I feel like this is a super important question, just because no matter whether they come every 3 months, every 6 months, every year, every other year, you need to know that as a stylist, so that way you can better service them. And I think for me personally, I like to know who's going to be consistent, because consistency is to me what makes up your majority of your clientele, and that's where I'm going to put my energy and my focus into. Not that I would give anyone who's not going to come all the time any less,
Yes.
but I'm definitely not going to put as much work, effort, or energy into your service or into trying to retain you as a client, because I know that this is probably a once in a year or just tax time hair color.
And for me, it's just it better helps me figure out what kind of styles to give my clients and what kind of colors will be a better fit for their lifestyle. It's okay if you come every 3, every 6, or once a year, but every color has a maintenance, and figuring out what is that color's maintenance period in your inspiration, it will be key. Because if you're wanting this platinum blonde, you have to be realistic. If you're not naturally blonde, then the maintenance period is going to be as soon as those roots starts to show.
So in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. So giving somebody that kind of color or style will not be beneficial to them, because they're not looking to be here every 2 weeks. They're looking to be here every 6 to every 12 months.
Yeah.
So keeping that in mind will definitely save you a whole lot of heartache in the end of your service, and hopefully will keep your clients wanting to come back.
Faux show. And that concludes the 10 questions. I think that if you are a new stylist out there, I think my best advice to you outside of these questions would be to honestly mess up as much as possible. Figure it out. The mistakes are where you learn, and I feel like we try to avoid failure so much. It's taught to be perfect, which perfect is unattainable, just like white hair. And I think that it's so important to just to learn from your mistakes. If you do make a mistake, don't stop. Don't say it's failure. Learn from it and keep going.
Yes, and I always tell people when that come to me for advice is, I do agree, make as many mistakes as possible. I learned how to create some of my favorite colors by mistake. Just whenever you create a color by mistake, make sure you write down whatever formula that is, so that when you do get a client in your chair that's wanting that specific color, you already have a formula to help you achieve that color.
Faux show.
Thank you guys so much for checking in with us and seeing what our top 10 questions were when sitting with a new client. If you guys have any questions that we should have asked, please leave them down in the comment section below, and feel free to show us some love by liking, subscribing, and sharing our video. Thank you guys very much, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye guys.